Welcome back. 412-575-2600 is the number on the Bordas & Bordas hotline. Want to remind everybody, got some bonus Steelers coverage coming tomorrow. Bob Pompiani is out west for the owners meeting, so he'll bring some stuff for you there. And one thing about the owners meeting that's probably a little bit different is probably some of the more candid comments you will get from head coach Mike Tomlin. So it's one of those things you want to keep an eye out for as the day goes along tomorrow, as Pomp brings you some coverage from the NFL owners meeting. In the meantime, let's look at the phone lines. We will start with Dave in Bell Vernon. Dave, you're on the Nightly Sports Call.
Josh, nice seeing you on there. I always enjoy talking to you.
Good to be back.
Listen, here's what I want to ask you. I just got done reading the article in Sports Illustrated that Bell wrote. And, I get the picture, and I don't know. But don't you see what Bell's really saying here? And I'm talking about now, it's the guaranteed money. That's where the Steelers came up short. I mean, if you're running back in the NFL, can't you see the real reason that he wants guaranteed money?
Absolutely.
I mean, he goes down quick. You can go down and get hurt so quick. And the Steelers don't come up with that guaranteed money like some of these other clubs. I mean, it's that simple. I mean, they don't seem to want to go beyond 1 year. And I can really see the guy's point, rather than just saying, well, he lost, he didn't get what he wanted. He may not have got what he wanted, but he did get guaranteed money that would protect him in some way for a running back.
All right, well, here's the thing, and appreciate the call. Nothing you're saying is false per se. It's the perception of it. It's how it's looked at. And the truth of the matter is, if Le'Veon Bell were to take the offer that the Steelers had given to him, yes, it would have been extremely front-loaded, but the salary he would get in that first couple years, he was probably going to earn that. They're not going to get rid of him in the first couple years of that contract because he was the guy at running back. I don't think they would have signed that contract with him with the intent of getting rid of him after a year or two. So, yeah, been the money that you see in that column as far as guaranteed money is concerned. But let's not kid ourselves. That first 2 or 3 years, he was going to be there for that contract. He was going to collect that much, which would have been about as much, if not close, to what he would have wanted in guaranteed money. I think that's where the disparity lies. So a lot of it really is just semantics, if you will. But yeah, in theory, if you want to look at it on paper, yes, everybody wants that guarantee. Everybody wants the guarantee money. Of course, you want that peace of mind against injury. Of course you do. And the fact that both sides were on either side of it, that's business. It happens in every professional sport. A team and a player are not always going to see eye to eye on what the player is worth. That's fine. Did he make the best decision going about his disagreement with it? Probably not. I'd say the same thing about Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown felt he should have gotten a little bit more money. Did he go about it the best way as far as how he wanted to get it? Probably. However, he actually did get what he wanted, but those situations not entirely similar. But at the same time, it's something that you're going to find. And it's not just in football. It's in baseball. It's in hockey. It's in basketball. Teams and players are going to differ on what a player is worth. It's just how you go about it and trying to make it work. And neither situation really looked good as far as the organization was concerned. Let's go to David in the South Side. David, you're on the Nightly Sports Call.
Yeah, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
All right. I just wanted to make a comment about the Steelers. Sure, we got rid of the drama with Antonio Brown, but he's one of the best that's in the game. They're going to double team Juju next year. James Conner can't seem to go a whole year without getting hurt. In the secondary, in the defense is suspect. And I think that the Steelers are going to finish third in our division next year behind Cleveland, Baltimore, then the Steelers, then Cincinnati. What you think?
There are some people that feel the way you do, and thanks for the call. If you've heard about it, NFL.com put out their power rankings at the end of the week. They actually have the Browns and the Ravens ahead of the Steelers right now in their power rankings. So you're not alone in that theory. I agree with you on the part of the defense. I actually opened my show Sunday morning, 7 to 10, 93.7 The Fan. Last week I opened my show talking about, okay, you got rid of Le'Veon Bell, you got rid of the drama there. You got rid of the drama with Antonio Brown. You might have even gotten yourself some help with Dante Moncrief at the wide receiver position. That's great. But have you fixed the defense yet? And that's the question I'm going to continue to ask myself. Every time we see the move that Dave made, I'm still asking myself, have you fixed the defense yet? I like the addition of Mark Barron. I think he's a capable guy. Do I think he's capable of replacing Ryan Shazier? That's a high standard. That might be a little bit much to assume. But at the same time, I like the addition. I like the speed. I think that helps a lot. I think Steven Nelson really helps a lot. He's a guy the Steelers liked when he was coming out in the draft. I believe they brought him in for a pre-draft interview. So I like the thought of Steven Nelson. He's a guy who's acquitted himself pretty well in Kansas City. Are you done, though? You're not, because you still got to figure out what to do at safety now that Morgan Burnett's probably on his way out in the next week or so. So that's something you got to figure out. I'm going to keep coming back to the same question. Have you fixed the defense yet? And if you haven't, I don't think I could be that optimistic about what this team could do in the upcoming season. Let's go to Calvin in Clearfield. Calvin, you're on the Nightly Sports Call.
Good morning. Good evening, Josh. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay, I got two questions about the Steelers.
All right.
One of them is about Bostic. Is he going to be with the Steelers, and what are they going to do about Artie Burns if they trade him yet?
What are you going to get for him? That's the thing. Yeah. Could you imagine trying to pick up the phone and say, yeah, I want to get rid of Artie Burns. I know he's a first-round draft pick. I know he's got great pedigree, but we're trying to get rid of him. What kind of suitable return are you going to get for a guy that hasn't done his job well as a first-round pick? You're not going to net anything. And if you do net a late-round pick, it's probably a charitable effort. If you're going to try to move Artie Burns, you're better off letting him play this last year and then not offering him that extra year, that extra extension on the rookie contract and just letting him walk. I think that's the smarter thing to do, because right now, trying to offer him as a trade chip, what is there really to get for a guy who, frankly, has no confidence and continue to get worse at doing his job over the course of the season? He just has no trade value at this point. Let's go to TJ. TJ, you're on the Nightly Sports Call.
Hey, Josh, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hey, I wanted to ask you how you feel about Pittsburgh moving up in the draft, putting some picks in and getting Devin White. I think that would really change our defense, and we haven't done that since Aldo Marlin.
This is me nodding because that's exactly what I want them to do. You got, 10 draft picks, package a couple with that 20th, move up, and if I'm talking about the ideal scenario, at least for my money, package those picks, move up, get Devin Bush, and finally cross that item off your list. And it goes back to my question, have you fixed the defense? That's a good step in the direction of fixing the defense. We got to take a break. We'll answer more phone calls. We might even look at a couple tweets when we come back. Stick around.